please.
Danny Geeser,
Here.
Marks,
Here.
Buffington,
Here.
Alexander, Graves,
Here.
Shelby.
Here. Item number 2, administer the oath of office to Pamela Buffington, seat number 3, term expiring 7/31/2025. And Roy's not here.
Mr. Chairman, Roy Jackson is not able to be here today, and we'll catch him up next time. Ms. Buffington, could you join me at the microphone, please? There we are.
You need me for 3 years.
Please raise your hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Pamela Buffington,
Do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support
do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support,
and defend the Constitution of the United States
obey, and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Constitution of the State of Oklahoma
and the Charter of the City of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma,
and the Charter of the City of Pryor Creek, Oklahoma,
that I will not knowingly receive,
that I will not knowingly receive,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
any money or any valuable thing
any money or other valuable thing
for the performance or non-performance
for the performance or non-performance
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
of any act or duty pertaining to my office,
other than the compensation allowed by law.
other than the compensation allowed by law.
I further swear or affirm
I further swear or affirm
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Park Board Seat Number 3
that I will faithfully discharge my duties as Pryor Park Board Seat Number 3 to the best of my
to the
ability.
best of your ability. That's right. You are hereby sworn. Good job. Oh, don't go away. Don't go away. Don't go away. We got to sign it. Yep, right there,
All right.
where it says sign here.
Did you tell her about the goat she's got to ride here in a few minutes?
I've ridden the goat before. Thank you very much. It's not fun.
Thanks, Pam.
Item number 3, discuss and possibly approve the minutes of the June 27th, 2022 regular meeting.
Make a motion to approve.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carried. Item number 4, park report. Mr. Powell.
Not really too much to report. It rained, and so now we're mowing. That's, that stuff took off. I did give Darla a splash pad. We've came up with this Friday's when I'll change to the school hours, and then probably do a shutdown date of October 3rd. But other than that, I said, really, there's not too much to report. Just the rains took off, or the grass took off. We've just been trying to keep it mowed out between that and, little repairs. Like we had to fix a water leak at Centennial today, but just normal maintenance and mowing. About all we got. Cemetery, they've been I had some numbers and I went off and forgot them. The guy, number of funerals and the revenue, and I went off and left them. But I know they've been pretty busy. Kind of like every year, it's hot and dry, and by the time we lose the last summer kid, the rains hit, and so now we're back to, trying to keep up. The first month, a lot of times we have a little tendency to get a little bit behind, because for a while, we're having to mow and weed eat both, and that you can't hardly, that, so, trying to get another tent, but, usually that's when we'll do another thing, we'll spray. But other than that, just trying to keep up with the grass.
Anything from Frank? Thank you, Frank. Item number 5, golf course report. Dennis isn't here. I have no report. Item number 6, discussion possible action regarding approving Paddock Enterprises, Inc., direction of the Park Board, Whitaker Park, direction of the Whitaker Park pool design plans to date and moving forward with the design work.
You ready?
Ready.
You received, my name's Don Paddock. You guys received the one plan view that kind of tentatively shows what we're thinking. Of course, we're trying to fix what's broke, and we're also trying to enhance the appearance and make it so people want to go there. So when they drive by there, they say, golly, it's starting to look great, or there's something that makes me want to. So the way I've approached is I've got the main pool, which I spent about 2 hours out of the pool with Frank today, and we went through some items that he felt needed to be addressed. We talked about the main drain. There's a bad area in the deep end floor of the pool. They also have a little plug in there that they pull out to keep it from floating up during the winter, and there's an area, and they lose some water out of it that has a constant stream of water that's going to the lift station when the pool's open. So with the combination of everything, I'm thinking I'm gonna have 1,000 square feet of floor of that pool that I'm gonna tear out and replace in this stuff. And that's the deepest part of the pool. And I'm gonna put new drains and hydrostatic systems and catch that piping all the way to the pump suction. Just try to eliminate that being a problem. We're going to sandblast the pool, rub out the walls, epoxy coat everything, try to fix some concrete blemishes that are out there. We talked about today even sandblasting or brush blasting the deck, concrete paving around, and kind of remove that kind of paint that someone has put on at one time, and just let it be a little bit rough and gray and whatever, but then fix the coping and paint it, which is the very top of the pool wall, like about 8 inches back from the front of the deck, close to the pool. The first 8 inches is part of the pool wall, and some of it's scaled off and needs to have a little repair made to it, and we'll repair that and paint that. Where the curbs are around the thing, we'll repair those, sandblast those and paint those curbs, but not paint the normal deck. They've replaced the ladders. I don't know if it was 10 years ago, but they're fairly decent stainless steel ladders in around the thing. We're leaving those. We are going to look at replacing the dive stands where the rails are just broken off, and the lifeguard chairs. There's 3 of them. So we're kind of hitting things. So that's with the pool. I think that little storage building, there's a 10 by 12 storage building that I don't know who Frank locks in there or what he does, but it's not of much use. It's rotten. It makes the thing look ugly. I'm just going to eliminate that entirely, and we're going to store the stuff in Frank's garage. So,
Now, did that used to be the concession stand or the confession stand?
Yeah, years ago.
Okay.
okay. I've got, of course, the dive towers. We're going to figure out something, put rail stands and replace those. I've got two features if you look at the drawings that I sent you. One is a zip line feature and one is a rock climbing wall. And it actually hangs out toward the pool, so they climb it. If they fall in the pool. The zip line, they basically get up on a little pad and there's a rope hanging down. It's got a bunch of knots, so depending on how tall the kid is, he can get as high as he can on the knot and lift himself up, and he goes down the zip line, 10 feet or whatever, and it throws him out over the water. Those items, I think probably if I were to buy a zip line, I think it cost me like $16,000. So by the time it gets to the city through a contractor, it probably costs $25,000. But that's not an extreme amount. That zip line and that climbing wall, when I put it out to bid, those will be alternate bid items. So if we feel like the money, when you can decide what you want to do, whether you want them or not. But that adds to the pool. We got the wading pool. If you look at the wading pool is zero entry. It runs from 0 to 15 inches deep. It'll have 3 vertical sprays in the deck part of it that's just spray up about this size, this high, and basically it's equivalent of a 1/2-inch pipe that's sticking up. So if a kid covers one hole, another kid covers another hole, that third hole shoots higher. So just gives a little, and that's the only feature this thing has other than having zero entry going into it. And we have a shade structure around the outside of it on the pool side of it. And I put a picture of the shade structure we've been using. We've been building them out of 8x8s, and we've put them on probably 4 or 5 state parks. So the bathrooms is a third item. We're changing the entrance to where there's one door at the point. There's one door. There's going to be another door just to equal it around the corner. That those doors are just going to be open. So it's going to be an open going through, and then there will be a roll down door that shuts off the thing. So when it's open, if a tenant's at the counter, she can see out the streets, or people on the street can see, I see the counter in there. And then we're, of course, changing counter heights and making everything ADA and all that, doing the ADA parking out front. We're tearing up the floors in the men's and women's bathroom, and maybe we won't have to tear up all of it, but we're replacing piping, water lines, and putting all new fixtures in, showers, toilets, urinals, sinks, and putting partitions in. So just trying to spruce up a little bit of everything. And I don't know where the money's going to fall yet, and the money falling scares me every time these days. So, I think it's a good start, and it gets the facility back to where that facility is actually a nice facility that people might want to go to. And I am tempted, and I haven't decided yet, I'm tempted to pull down the fence around the whole thing and save the post and paint the post black and put black vinyl fence fabric up on the existing post just because it looks great. So that's where we're at. And there's a lot of work to still be done. That drawing depicts one thing, but the drawings you get probably by the time it's done will have 20, 25 or 30 pages to it, sheets to it.
So this is what you would call a conceptual design. This is your concept of what we could do with this, given kind of how we're thinking about the money and the time frame and stuff.
That is how I'm approaching it.
Okay,
And I'll
good.
pick it to pieces, and I will put estimates on it at the end, and my estimates right now, they just scare the heck out of me.
What are they?
Huh?
How much are they?
How much or what?
Your estimates?
Well, depending on where we started out, sit,
Say we're doing everything that you have, how much is it?
well, right now, we're probably in the $800,000 range, and I haven't ran estimates since I got into this. You know, since we started drawings. So until I have all the pieces put together and break it down,
Yeah, you've got that idea that we put out there about kind of that upper end that we were looking at, that's kind of in that ballpark. I think from a cost standpoint, just talking about numbers and we're just throwing things out, I think the one thing about cost that we're finding out is the city is, to use an old term of a friend of mine's, it's kind of financially embarrassed right now from a standpoint of how much we can spend, we have available to spend on a pool. And you've heard this, I know.
Right.
I think the thing is, though, when I try to think about what kind of limit do we put on this? How do we deal with that? It seems to me that whatever we're gonna put into this, we've gotta put enough that we get the useful life of it. And when I talk about useful life is how long we can go before we have to do major repairs. And we never know, things may happen. But it's gonna take us, at this point on these estimates, 10 years to pay it off. So we should be able to design it such and have something in place that's gonna last 10 years without any major repair cost. In theory.
in theory, now.
In theory.
One thing, we are not, and I've talked to Frank about this today, we went down to the mechanical area because the mechanical area, we act like, oh, the pool's operating fine, we didn't have any problem. Well, we talk about a leak that was there, we talk about, his pump and motor that he's gonna have to have looked at. We talk about I'm sitting there looking at a strainer pot that has the top bolts missing half of them that needs to be replaced. We're not replacing the filters, we're assuming the filters are not gonna be a problem. Well, I go down there, and there's two of the jack legs that hold the filter up, and I think there's probably 8 of them total, and 2 of them just look like they're getting ready to fizzle out and fall apart. So I will have those, at least those 2 that are rusting to that point replaced. I don't foresee, pretty much I'm approaching it where we've got 20 or 30 years out of it. Now, with that in hand, a paint job has to be done every 5 to 9 years.
Yeah, I think, and I should be a little more clear about it, I think the operations and maintenance, and, that's gonna be ongoing maintenance that we're gonna have to budget for. I think what I fear is, depending on what our yearly payments are, over how long they last, if we get a big repair bill in the middle of that, in addition to the yearly payments, then that's gonna be something we probably hadn't planned for. And we just wanna be aware of it going into this, which I say then the trade-off is, well, we may have to look at, which moves us to functionality. We may have to look at saying, do we wanna mitigate our risk, and how much of this 800,000 or whatever the dollars are we spending on new functionality versus just getting us back to the existing functionality. So it's just some way to think about, put some parameters around decision-making on how we're gonna make decisions on whether, because this wading in, this looks really nice. I mean, we haven't had a kid's pool, but on the other hand, I don't know from a percentage of cost, would you even hazard a guess, does this, do you think, represent 20% of the total cost, or 5%?
What's that?
The wading pool down up here for the kids, and
Well, you throw numbers, you say, okay, well, that's $100,000, and the interior of the bathhouse is
Okay.
$100,000, and The interior finish on the pool is $100,000, and you just keep growing. You say, well, I want deck equipment and some of the these new features and stuff. You say, well, that's $75,000, and you just keep growing. So I don't know where you're at. That's
Yeah.
where I say I'd say the 800,000 is not a terrible number to think about right now. My problem is the way I'm seeing things bid and the way I am seeing people having trouble getting good help. We have a guy that's built probably 10 or 15 projects for us over the past 20 years. They're out in Neosho, Missouri. They usually have 150 employees or so. And they have 25 of them that do pool stuff or whatever, and probably 3 or 4 superintendents. Well, they've got 2 superintendents that are working now. I had heard from a supplier that they just weren't bidding any work, and so I called the estimator up there that I know and just talked to him, and he said, well, we just don't have the help we need right now, and we only got a few superintendents that we want to send on pool work, and we've got some big projects we're doing, but we are bidding some stuff, but we aren't bidding everything. We're picking and choosing what we want to bid. Well, you look at something, you see some $1.5 million facility that's new, that's more attractive than an $800,000 headache that is renovation work and, jobs that take a little more of a superintendent that knows what he's doing and take a little more thought process of, yeah, this is messed up, let's fix it this way. Because everything's not cut and dry. I can do a set of plans on it, and I can't tell them how to fix everything. So I can give the generalities, and then if they tear something out and we look at it, we can sit and theorize on, yeah, I'll fix it, and the plans say you'll fix it this way, but yeah, I'll go ahead and do this because it's going to be better. So,
Well, I think you're bringing up a good point, and that is, we all voted on it, and I think everybody knows where I've been involved in this, but we have to be realistic about what we can afford to build.
well, that's what I've done. I've approached it where I'm just trying to bring the facility back up to snuff. The wading pool is the one thing that is really a different thing because the other wading pool is just a throwaway wading pool.
Yeah.
It doesn't meet any code criteria. It's not a savable thing.
And it hasn't been in operation in, Frank, how many years?
Quite some time, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's probably 20 or more years.
And it's on the front across from the park, and I want them to drive down that street and look at that and say, all right.
I think it's needed. We have a lot of young people with a lot of little kids. I mean, drive out that splash pad and look. There's a ton of mamas out there with little bitty ones that I think would use that.
Oh, I know they would.
I love that part of it because I think it appeals to another portion of our families.
So, but
I think before you can put a cost to anything, you gotta have pretty well designed what you want, then you can say, this is gonna cost this much, this is gonna cost this, then we can make the decisions if we wanna keep any of that or not.
well, or we put out the bid, and we put out the bid in such a fashion that you can pick and choose some of the things. This is required, this is required, this is extra, this is an extra.
Yeah.
I think that would be really helpful if we were able to do that,
We will
to
be.
get it broken down into, like Lego blocks. We can put them in or take them out, but we know we have to, I think it gets back to one of the other things that governs the cost. I know what we want, and what we'd like to have, but it really, and I don't know how to answer this question. I don't know if the mayor knows how to answer it. What can we afford at the end of the day? And so we just need there's information that we just need. And I think another dimension that falls into this is, when do we think we can have it operational? We're gonna have to think about that. Are we gonna go another summer without it?
We aren't going another summer without it, as long as we can get bids of someone to do it.
Good.
Yeah. Well, I think that's what we would all,
So you're,
would like to have.
so you're saying if you can get enough bids, you could have it done in by summer of next year?
Yeah, I mean, we like to have a renovation job normally bid by the end of the year or in early January, and it can be done. And usually they'll be done if you have a bidder that you can live with. You know, you also can bid it and not have any bidders that want to bid it. And,
How many times does that happen? Just curious. More often than not, or just realistically?
I feel like the last couple of years, about half the time, the bids have been so high or not enough bidders, or, you know, it's just, or there's some other problem. So,
Do you feel like this would be successful to get a bid?
I don't know, as we get closer, I'll start calling a couple of people I know that, you know, there's two people that, two companies that bid some of these projects that we see out. And then there's a couple more that are out there that have been bidding projects that are capable. And then I design really for a general contractor. If I have a good general contractor that can build a sewage treatment plant, those are the people I love to do my jobs. I'd rather see that. I'd rather see a guy that can build a sewage treatment plant build one of my jobs than a pool contractor out of Tulsa that doesn't build commercial pools. I want someone that can read plans and specs. You get a residential pool contractor that doesn't do a whole lot, and I do it this way, I do it. You know, they have trouble with saying, okay, well, you're required to do it this way. So,
Well, what's been, as far as this process goes, you talk about next steps. How do you see us going about scoping this? Actually scoping the work that we're gonna put into, we're gonna go to the next detailed design phase with.
well, I'm getting ready to go to that now with what I have. And that's why I have this full drawing, this one plan view that kind of shows all three components that I'm thinking about. And then I take each one component and then okay, we gotta get the wading pool designed, we gotta get the bathhouse designed, we gotta get the pool figured out. So I'm at that point now, and that's why I was out there for 3 hours with Frank today, looking at some of the little idiosyncrasies that we need to take care of, so.
So we'll have, then, from our standpoint,
I'm hoping 45 days from now, I am either 95% or 100% done. Maybe I'm 90 or 95%, I'm like, you got it. This is what I'm doing.
and so we'll have these pieces with some rough estimate.
With the scope of, what I'll do is do the specs, and I'll also do a tentative bid form on the way I plan on bidding the thing out. So you'll see the breakdown. Yeah, I'm bidding the pool with, these things as alternate bid items, the bathhouse, we're doing this, but this entrance area, we're doing it as an alternate bid item, you know, just.
Define alternate bid.
Huh?
Define alternate bid. When you say, we're doing this, we
Alternate
don't.
bid. We, put a packet out that says, the contractor is going to renovate this pool, he's gonna do the interior finish, he's gonna do
piping, he's gonna do decks and deck equipment. And we have 2 items, I don't know if it'll be 2 or more, but we have our 2 plate structures that are listed in the bid, but they're also bid items, so that means you add, if you want it, you add this money and you can have it. If you don't want it, then you don't add it. So, just kinda, yeah, putting the building blocks together, saying, yeah, I'm gonna take this one, this one, and this one.
But you have to be able to, you have to have that design first before you can find out what it's gonna cost you.
Oh, we got to put out the bid to find out what it's gonna cost us. I'm doing estimates that, I used to say I'm very good at. So, and I felt like I haven't been very good at lately. So, and it's just because it's very strange out there right now.
So yeah, I mean, these are wild times, and who knows if it's gonna get easier or rougher, going down the road here. It's just a lot of moving parts. I do think something, Mayor, that we have to think about I know I keep coming back to this. Do we know how we're gonna approach this from kind of our upper limit on cost? Are we gonna work with any kind of, cost in mind as limits or constraints? Or are we gonna go down the path and say, well, if we like it, we're gonna go door to door and find the money?
So we already are at the point of going door to door to find the money,
okay,
but we don't know how much money we need to find. There's a range there, so that upper range is somewhere around $800,000 right now. That's where that upper range is. So going door to door to try to find the money.
well,
Yeah,
that's kind of the not to exceed number, is at this point, is 800,000?
in my mind,
Yeah, okay.
in my
Well,
mind.
it's $800,000. Say it comes in at $799, and you see these 2 features that cost, or this one thing that costs $75,000 to add to it, you decide whether it's worth adding it or not.
Yeah, and I think this is, what I'm trying to get to is, are we gonna work with a hard constraint at the top? Or are we going to say, well, you may come up with a Taj Mahal of pool designs, and we decide that's gonna put Pryor on the map, so we're willing to spend. I don't think we're in that boat. We are, at this point, we are going out to other people to help us fund this. This is not something that we can do ourselves within the city budget.
As soon as these plans are done and he has a hard estimate, then we go try and raise the funds.
Okay.
Then we go try and raise funds. How much funds does the city have to contribute? City's gonna have to contribute something. City's gonna have to contribute something. Are there grants available? I'm looking for them. I've had some that have told me, said, get something going, we will help. So that's where I am.
Well, I have the attitude where we started with some preliminary numbers where we're saying, okay, the 800,000 is what we're trying to achieve, not to exceed. Well, that's where I say, well, we got bidding problems. If it comes in $1 million and does whatever you want, everything we want to do, then it's up to you guys whether you want to do it or not.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this conversation is not, we're not looking, you're not funding it, for sure. Just trying to figure out how we approach this.
Now, I'm on a percentage basis, and so I want $1.5 million.
Well, I did read that in your contract, and I understand that. It's one thing to bill us, it's the other to be able to get the money. So That helps though, as we're trying to think about this, as we're looking at it, it's something to keep in mind, we do have a limit. And we need to, as we're looking into this and saying, okay, we've got a hard limit at the top. If we can bring it in cheaper, we may make that decision because that means we can pay it off quicker. We're not at risk of, impacting the budget. And I think the process you're talking
Well,
about
there's
is.
two things, the budget and what you want to have representing the city and what you want the citizens to say, yes, I will use. I love that. That's great. So,
That's a good point to bring up. And I think that, in my mind, the challenge is adding new functionality, you would assume will increase utilization. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to get people to use it. It's being able to measure that in a way that you can say, these are good numbers to go with. There's a good return on our investment. That if we do this, we're gonna draw this many more people. But this is not a profit center. We're not making money here. It's just reducing what it's gonna cost us to provide the service, because this pool does not make money.
you are gonna make money with the pool.
Yeah.
My goal is, I want it to be usable. I want people to go by and wanna use it. When you go by there, the last time it was open, you got 20 people out there, 20 people a day for attendance, that's bad. But the place is not attractive. It does not make you desire to go there. And that's what we're trying to improve.
So the component about the paint, the component about the fence, some of those things that would be alternate bid items, some of those things that would serve to enhance, put those things down in the plan, with a hard estimate for the total, for the total of it, the hard estimate for the total of it. And bring that back to us in 45 days. That'll be right before, that'll be right at the end of September. So,
Yeah, and like I say, that's where my estimates are scaring me right now, so. But, like I say, I used to think they were really good. Now I worry about them every time I do it. So,
but the point is we don't know.
yeah,
We don't know.
well, it gives us a base to start with, no matter what.
So we have to start with that base. We're gonna ask somebody to help us fund it. We gotta know what those numbers are.
Yeah, we may want that wading pool, we may not want that wading pool, depends on, where we're at financially. So, we'd like to see it, but we want to be able to decide after we see it, if we,
Well, I agree with that.
if
My
we-
deal almost was
Yeah.
like the wading pool part of the base bid, where it was one of the things that did happen, because I think that's a very important thing.
Me too.
So, and
I don't disagree.
I'll be in touch with you guys as we go along, and be in touch with you, and we'll see
Very good.
where I'm at, and then I'll come over and talk to you guys again.
So we need to make a motion to approve anything, or I think it's written there.
well,
Really just proceed with the design as we go, as we are.
So just, so the motion.
Yeah, we
on
need to
number
make
6
a-
Is just to proceed.
a vote on if we want to approve Paddock Enterprises to move forward with the design work.
I'll make a motion.
I second.
Motion that we do.
We do.
Motion been made that we have
Proceed.
Paddock Enterprises move forward with design work on the Whitaker Park pool design.
I
There's a
second.
second for that, and we have a second for that. Any discussion on that?
And so we're kind of setting an expectation, it sounds like, in about 45 days.
Yes.
You'll be back before the park board with a more detailed design that shows the components and rough estimates. And I know
Yeah,
that's your estimate, that's not a bid estimate.
absolutely.
And we'll have some ideas on things we may want to include in scope or exclude from scope and go from there.
Yes, and I think even at that point, from my perspective right now, We do the estimate. It's gonna be, yes, we're gonna put this as an alternate bid item, and maybe we'll be able to throw it in, maybe we won't. But
Okay, so, and you're talking alternate bid may be large pieces of scope. If you're talking about this,
it could,
now,
it
this
could-
wading pool, I know,
it could be the wading pool, but that is not the one I would choose to say, hey, let's make this,
What are you thinking is?
yeah, what's your criteria for determining if it's alternate bid? Have you thought about that as far as how you would classify?
big pieces that are easy to break off the design without affecting the overall design.
Okay,
Like the zip line or the rock
Like the
wall?
zip line, like the rock wall, possibly, let's see, the deck, possibly sandblasting the deck and not doing that. You know,
so maybe another way,
I'll have a better idea of what I can pick apart as I get into it.
Right,
Well-
cross that bridge when you get it all together and we can
Right.
look at it.
And
Well, I
when
think
look
it-
at the numbers that I come up with, say, okay, yeah, I think we keep most of this together, except for my goal, what I'm hoping is that $800,000 number encompasses everything, maybe not the zip line, maybe not the wall, maybe not the doors and canopy on the front of the bathhouse,
yeah.
so.
Well, there's a definition of that, we're trying, at a minimum, we're trying to restore the functionality that existed with that pool originally, what it was, the original functionality, that's the minimum. I mean, because it's gotta be able to drain and all that.
Well, that's
And
the
it's,
problem, the minimum, because we've approached this with a minimum thought to start with, changing things, we're taking some of our minimalized items out of it if we do that. If we take the wading pool out, we're taking a major component out. But I thought, let's figure out where the money is and talk about it. I hope it's all in the $800,000 number.
and the last question here, I hope, is what estimated useful life are you looking at? In your mind, are you thinking when we restore this back to the original functionality?
Well, I'm always thinking 20 or 30 years.
Okay,
when I do
that's great.
So, you know, like I said, some of the issues that we aren't dealing with is some of the mechanicals, but my attitude is really a city ought to have between probably 7,500 a year that they put in a fund every year. And I, like the city of Bethany, we specified anemic paint and the way they were gonna approach painting it. They painted the pool. And under the contract, it lasted 9 years. A guy called, and this has been 10 years ago, a guy called me from Bethany and said, well, I want to get a price on paint. So I gave him a price on paint and told him there was a little more to it that he needed to do. And, you know, I just want a price on paint. And he bought paint, and the next year he needed to paint again. And the paint job he had done, that had been contracted out and done during the renovation per our specifications, lasted 9 years. Now, you say paint is gonna last, what I tell people is, I don't want you to paint a pool till after 5 years. If you have to touch up areas between 1 and 5, you touch up areas, you make that paint job last 5 years. And occasionally I have them last, you know, like I had one last 9, and they had them last 7 or 8. So we've had them last a long time, but it's something that weather and everything, it's outdoors, and it's always a problem. And there's always cheaper paint, and there's always, people gonna put it on not like it should be put on. So,
I think that's great insight and information, and in fact, it would be, as we go through this, at the end of this, if we had operating procedures defined and maintenance procedures defined that said, those are the things, commitments we have to make in our budget to fund these on an annual basis
You
to
set them on a
preserve.
shelf, you set them on a shelf, and 5 years later, you wouldn't be able to find them.
And the challenge is because it's somewhat, the right word's not transient, but the word is there's people moving in and out of these positions over time.
Right.
And there's no institutional knowledge really that's maintained about this. It comes and goes as different people come through. And we've got to figure out a way as a city, it would help us to have that, where we could take that institutional knowledge and say, okay, we've got to put process around it to make sure we do this stuff. But I think you're bringing it up and it helps educate us.
Frank? So, your
Anything
opinion
else?
after, yeah, your opinion with everything that went on and what you looked at, are you all right with?
Yeah,
And it meets what your spec, what you're asking for, and,
yeah, the time we spent today, we went real well, yeah.
and you feel like it'll encompass everything that you need to get done? Okay.
Can I go home?
A roll call, please.
Kenny Geeser,
Yes.
Marks,
Yes.
Buffington,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes?
Shelby.
Yes.
Yes,
Thank you.
you are dismissed.
And thanks for your time and
I appreciate
information.
it, guys. We'll see you in 45 days.
Item number 7, discussion and possible action authorizing the park department to pour concrete along the Whitaker Park Trail.
I think there should be some pictures put in. I don't want to do this, it's not going to be like all at once, just probably sections. But over the years, the trail itself's gotten wider and wider, just, and so a lot of it, we're going to do ourselves, take backhoe, just kind of dig out the edges, get it back to about 6 foot like it was, just put in dirt. But this particular area, in front of this bathrooms, where it curves around and curves back, that's, you know, it's kind of what I've done in the past when I've concreted major washout sections, and that's a major one. And we'd gotten at one point where we was gonna maybe try to do a little ditch to deter the water to run down and put a pipe and have it, if you look where the gate is, that's where it all goes out. But then we thought, well, even if we do a little small ditch, somebody will end up tripping through it and getting hurt. And the thing is, just like everything else right now, screenings have doubled in price.
So you want to edge the path on both sides to keep it,
Well, what this will be is to actually concrete that whole, eventually have that whole concreted. Like I have other
Take the
sections.
drive
you want to concrete the path?
Like I have other sections where we've had washout areas. If not, you know, I'm gonna spend more in screenings in a year than what it would to concrete it. Part of it's safety, you know, because when you get to major washout spots, you know, trip hazards, it's expense. But that particular area is just, it's gotten bad and it's an eyesore where it all comes out, and you can't reuse it. Once it washes out, it doesn't repack, so it's wasted.
Yeah, all the stuff's out of it.
Yeah, now the widening we'll do ourselves and stuff, or the narrowing back, that even includes places I'm not gonna concrete, like, just like where it goes up the trail, north and south along Kauai. There's trail lights that used to be like 2 or 3 feet outside the trail that are now in the trail. It's just, over the years of spreading them, and you know, we don't really ever have to spray Whitaker Trail. We keep.
How wide would you make the trail?
Originally, it's about 6 foot wide.
6 foot?
Yeah, originally that's what it
It's a
was.
lot
It
of
might go
concrete.
Yeah, I mean, it's nothing different. I mean, I've got, well, there's a spot over by the pond, or south of the pond, there's a spot north of the pond I've concreted. There's a spot where the basketball court is, we've concreted. But this would be the longest but probably do it in sections. It would actually tie in where the sidewalk comes out of the basketball court. From there, for the about 50 feet there, may not have to, that'd be the last section. The only reason I said that is because the rest of it would be concrete and you have this little 50-foot area that's not. But the narrowing back is ours on the other parts of the trail, but it's just a major washout. It all goes to and luckily we haven't had that much rain. We got that drought, but some of the pictures don't really do it justice. Of course, we fix them, usually patch them as soon as we try to. So some of those pictures don't show the true washout ditches. They'll go along the trail, and then over down where the toy is in the corner when you first pull into the splash pad, that's where it crosses over. So then all your streams wash out that way, and that's where you'll have a major ditch that they have to cross over. If it happens like on a Friday night or Saturday morning, it stays like that till the weekend, or till we get there Monday. But then it all goes out where that yellow gate is, and it's just, and what I was gonna do is take it where that, okay, I'll just show you the pictures. Yeah. So yeah, this here has probably got more, 12 or 15 foot wide.
What, is that the road going into oh, that's the path over
Yeah,
there?
that's what I'm saying, that's the actual path.
Okay.
Walking trail.
Where's the one for the trail lights on the curve? There. So a few years ago, the trail is here, inside, this pole is not in the trail. And even, this goes up the straightaway, like you're going back up to Park Street, and there's a trail light pole up here, and the pedestals, and they're right at the edge of the trail. Used to, they'd be this much, but that don't include the concrete. The concrete, I do want to take it, okay, so y'all know where this curve is, right there. So I want to take the concrete just past the curve, because some of it does wash back this way. But, yeah, so there's this pole right there. Basically, it's from there.
The reason your path keeps getting wider is because you got no curbing to keep it in, right?
Well, I think that's just over years of when we dress the trail, you spread, they get kicked out, it's just gradually gotten wider and wider. When other trails, we have to spray them to keep them wide, they grass up. Whitaker's is used so much, and I think it just gets used so much, and we have to work it so often, that's the thing, trails, people don't realize them trails are a lot of work. Even if it don't rain, they get packed in, you gotta rework them, but, just over the years it's spreading, and some of this was my fault, being the boss, but like my previous guy, okay, so it'd rain, they'd wash out, spread, my previous guy, grass will go through it. Well, yeah, not really. And so that's how some of that got so wide. That right there is a major, the water, when it comes through this way in front of the bathrooms, it goes that way and it all just washes out.
So now we can tell people when they say, why did the park department plant a light pole right in the middle of the path?
That's the pole, that's the pole that the car ran on the trail last year. Yeah,
I'm confused. How much of this, of the path do you want to concrete the whole thing, or just a couple of places?
If we do it all, there's certain areas there I want to do. And like I said, there's the spot at the end, we may get to the point, well, we don't need to concrete it, but it's just 50 more feet, or something. If we do it all, it's like 240 feet. It'd be from the sidewalk at the basketball court where we concreted at. That one's 7 foot wide, so we would just kind of come in, then we do the, what are they called on the sidewalk when you do the little, where you widen it for a wheelchair?
ADA accessible.
Well, yeah, I think it had a different bit. So then we would do that to the sidewalk out of the bathroom. And then, so actually all the way from there, all the way around to just that pole. Out it figures, it's probably gonna be about $2,300.
How many
But
feet is that, Frank?
240
240 feet total?
if we do it all. Like I said, there's the angle where it's coming and where it touches the curve, that's for sure. About 100, about half of it for sure, a little over half is for sure I would start first.
Have you, on,
Mayor, didn't I read where, just in today's paper, that the pad for the rec center, the concrete was $115 a yard?
I haven't read that today.
Huh? Isn't that what I read? $115 a yard for concrete. Now, how many yards of concrete are you gonna need there?
I had it figured out.
Well, that was about $2,300, so.
Yeah, me and Buddy from the street that does the pours concrete, we're the ones that calculated and had it all figured out.
It'd also be nicer to walk on instead of that gravel.
I come up with 17 yards.
17 yards,
17's what
at 150, so,
It came up to $2,044.
$115 a yard. Isn't that what it was?
That was Frank's, not Frank, but probably Frank had.
Yeah, that's what I figured is 115.
Well, you're way under than what your estimate is at.
Yeah,
$1,955.
well, okay, so part of that too, I was gonna do a little sidewalk. Okay, so we got the walk-through areas where the pipe fence is, and it's gonna have a sidewalk, kind of like from the parking lot, to the trail. And there's a sidewalk from that trail to that wooden shelter.
How many yards, or how many feet? How many-
240,
Huh?
240.
240 square feet or
200
yards?
foot long, 6 foot wide.
And that's with y'all doing the work, correct?
Yeah, our, street department
Well, I
probably will
mean,
help.
working
We'll do
together.
90% of it, but, and then, like I said, if we do it in sections, because like I said, right now, we got other work, it's gonna be one busy fall and winter. There's not a tree in between Whitaker, Bobby Buck, Centennial that don't need trimmed. I mean, some of them are getting, but we're gonna be, still got the shelter to finish at Bobby Buck. It's gonna be a busy, so that's what I'm saying. Some of this, I'm gonna start with the worst areas, and do maybe just 30 feet here, and then, if we get time, we'll come back. And it might get to the point we do so much of it, let it rain, and we don't have to do more, what I'm thinking, so.
something to think about is, and as I get to become an old codger, and I've run into this a lot, is when you pour this, are you given some thought to elevation as far as, are you gonna pour it flat with the ground? Are you gonna elevate it above the ground a couple of inches? And the reason I say that, these parks, we have kids running, I mean, these are,
Yeah.
there's a sensitive, and old people tripping over stuff, that we just want to think about how we can try to mitigate that risk.
It'd be like all other
It's
that
just,
we've done in pads. I mean, it'd be, maybe just a tad bit, like you said, above the, because we try not to spray, said at Whitaker. You keep stuff sprayed out, eventually you start getting erosion if you keep it.
Yeah.
And we've gotten some, I've even checked it, showed online, these last 2 or 3 years, there's a new bush that, I don't know if they're putting the seeds in the spray. It started at the ball fields and the fences. And if you don't jump on them quick, next thing you know, it turns almost like a shrub. I mean, and they get a stall this big. Next time you go through, now they're going around the tennis courts. Our creek, when you cross the little bridge on Kauai, look to the right down that creek there. I don't know where this stuff come from. I don't know if they got somewhere started, and once they get so tall, they seed. But this stuff in our lot at the shop, in the gravel parking lot, man, you'll get them. I don't know where this stuff has come from, but it is hard to, and once it gets so big, it gets stalled. You can't hardly weed eat it either. But it started at the ball fields. Yeah, we joke around that they putting the seeds in the spray, and that's why we have to buy more. But and it's bad. I don't hardly ever spray the creeks. We quit doing that quite a few years ago. In fact, I by myself, weeded it last year all the way. We usually weed them. This year we've gotten behind a little bit, but yeah, this stuff took over. I don't know what it is, but you can kill it, but it don't just it's not great. It don't go away. You got this big tall brown bush looking thing, but anyway, but yeah, back to that. Yeah, we'll keep it safe. And like I said, we may start with just a couple smaller sections. Let us get a downpour, and then kind of go from there. Like, what we've done, we might be able to solve the rest of that. Because sometimes we can do little knolls with the screenings to deter water, like when we do the trail. But like I said, it's gotten so expensive. Man, used to like $118 load. Now it's doubled, and it's just cost.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, and you'll be.
Yeah, and then that's turned into a real eyesore right there, and how it all washes out. Everybody turns in, you turn in right there, bam, you got that screen, right there, and it all washes out. It actually even goes to the street.
Are you gonna make it to where people can't drive up, try to get on it with their car?
Well, we can't really do any more than what we have right now.
Just thinking,
I mean, they can drive in anywhere in the park.
Well, yeah.
We caught one the other day, coming down by the sign, driving down the trail.
These don't look like roads, so I can see where they think they can drive.
It does.
If we reduce it back to 6 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be 6 to, like I said, that was the average of, like at Centennial or Buck, if we built the trail or done an addition, usually they're about 6 foot wide is what we, like I said, Centennial and Bobby Buck, we do have to keep those sprayed because they're not used quite as much. The grass actually, there's spots at Bobby Buck that actually got pretty narrow. but yeah, Whitaker's, but you don't have the washout spots either. Like they're a lot flatter. But here you got water coming from the park. And it runs down the trail, so it washes it out, and then it gets down there, it has to cross the trail, and then it just, so, like I said, it may not be, I don't do this whole part, but I'm just saying that's what it could end up.
Well, I make the motion to authorizing the park department to pour concrete along the Whitaker Park Trail.
I second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Marks,
Yes.
Buffington,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes.
Shelby,
Yes.
Kenny Easter.
Yeah. Item number 8, discuss and possibly recommend council action regarding seeking bids for new lights at the Whitaker Park tennis courts.
Okay, I got this in the capital outlay budget. It would be the last couple of years between trail lights and floodlights. I've gotten everything swapped over to LED. And so this would be get the last of the park lights to LED. And then tennis courts, you're probably gonna save a lot of money in the long run. Plus the east courts, for the last several years, because we had light issues, they've been, we had a sign up that they're daylight courts only. They wouldn't even work at night, the lights were messed up. So,
You talking The whole light pole and all,
No,
or you
just
just
new
talking to fixtures?
Fixtures, going to LED fixtures. Yeah, and then I budgeted enough to do all of them. I think there's 32 lights. You know,
Go to LEDs?
Mhm.
Well, that'd be a lot cheaper down the road.
Yeah, the quote I have of the fixtures, when I price some fixtures to know what to budget for, if we do all 32, if I remember right, it's gonna be like $10,500.
It's cheaper than I thought it would be.
But these, so these fixtures are, okay, the downside to them is they're ones that, well, you know, LED fixtures, when they go out, you don't replace the light, you replace the fixture.
Right.
So, you know, it's one of those, they have what'd they tell me? It's a 7 or 8 year warranty on them. So, you know, might get 10-year, I don't know, but the metal halide bulbs in there, when they're on, I'm sure that meter's zooming, and those bulbs are a couple $100 a whack already. And with them fixtures being the original fixtures, ballasts are out. But anyway, I could get them, you know, we can do that. Like I said, I priced for all 32. We can, if you want me to do one quart at a, you know, or go ahead and do them all.
If you got it budgeted, I would do them all, just get it done.
Agreed.
So what do you
Entertain a motion?
think? I guess I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. Any other discussion? Roll call?
Buffington,
Yes.
Graves,
Yes?
Shelby,
Yes.
Cannageeser,
Yes.
Marks.
Yes.
Item number 9, discuss and possibly recommend council action regarding seeking bids on the new lights at the Whitaker Park parking lot.
Okay, this
Oh,
one.
parking lot,
This,
parking
yeah,
lot.
This is supposed to be just no lights, just
Which parking lot?
we was gonna do it last year, so the two little lots that are there at the tennis courts. Get the,
Talking off Park Street.
Parking
Right.
lot by the splash pad?
no, at the tennis courts,
Huh?
the tennis courts.
Oh, the tennis court.
Yeah, to actually redo all that parking. We've already had it engineered out, because we thought, we had it planned to do it last year, but he miscalculated something, that's why we actually done the courts. But, it was combine those two little lots that are there to actually, not just one long one, but it'd even be double depth.
Oh,
But-
wow.
But, you know, just
Just-
for tennis, overflow events in the park. But for us during tennis season, getting out of our lot, when
It's horrible.
when they park buses and vans there, it's
They're-
it's hard for, because
Just the two on Park Street or the one over there on the west side too?
they're, okay, so the original plans was to redo that one too, extend it, but because of cost, they're gonna redo it, but not extend it or make it any bigger. But it would just be off Park Street where the two little, but, yeah, tennis, by doing the courts, you know, was it Grove or Miami has their tournament, you know, at Pryor. But, you know, tennis has gotten a lot more popular, and with the buses and the vans and people coming, you know, they're actually park over at the park and have to walk over, but they pull up, and they try to pull in our lot. And then, so if you're, you know, eventually it's gonna be one of those, you hope not, but, you know, hopefully nothing gets backed into or something, or, they've gotten pretty good, they'll park on our drive, and they've gotten good at not actually blocking us in, but like when we try to get out, you know, we're like halfway out of Park Street because we can't see cars coming. But this is actually something that has actually been talked about for many years, that, but had it engineered out, said a year or so ago, I've got the drawings. And, so it's not like we're just gonna do it or street, I mean, it's engineered out. Engineers would do the package, but it would actually connect them, and then it's gonna be double depth to the creek. And then, of course, you'd have it drain. I think you would kinda enter from one end and exit the other, and it'd still have a curb.
Frank, are you
What
talking
is
about
that?
parking lot, or are you talking about lights in the parking lot?
No, that got, it's just
That was
parking.
my fault.
Is that a
It was
typo?
not
Because I
mine.
kept thinking,
It is our parking
Yeah.
lot.
parking lots, thank
Parking
you.
lot,
Yes.
not parking,
Yeah.
not new lights, parking
Parking
lot.
lot, yeah.
Tennis court parking lot.
Yeah, tennis court. But it, you know, when there's big events in Whitaker, I mean, that gives extra parking.
So I didn't know which parking lot we were talking
Yeah.
about.
I
So
didn't either.
we budgeted 100,000, I think the engineer's cost is gonna be like 94,000 or something. That was to do all that and then kinda, and fix up, repave the one on the west side.
You gonna make them any bigger?
Huh?
Not
Yeah,
the
he's
one,
gonna
not the one on
double
the
them.
side, but the one in front is.
Yeah, it'd be one, all that whole, almost that whole space, double depth and connect them all. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just need a motion for you to go ahead and start seeking bids.
Yeah,
And we'll have to amend this since I accidentally put the word lights in there. It's actually for the parking lot. So we just have to amend it to just be.
So we need to make a motion to amend first, and then a motion to,
How does it need to be reworded, Darla?
it would be the tennis
bids.
court parking lot.
Yeah.
At the tennis court?
so we need to make a motion to amend the, item agenda
Yeah.
number 9 to recommend to council
Seek bids.
to seek bids for,
Tennis court.
for the tennis court.
Parking lot.
Parking lot.
Tennis court parking lot.
I know when I talk to the coaches and stuff, they're excited about even too, because
Yeah, I
they
bet.
have their big tournaments and people's trying to park or squeeze in and pull out in grass and all this, you know? Because if it gets wet there, that's, you're not getting out.
You'll be there till-
There's spots we can't mow if it rains.
For a week. So do we need, do we need to vote
The amendment?
on the amendment?
I think you can do it all at once. You can just, we'll just
Okay.
vote on the amended.
Okay. Pam, you can do the motion.
Okay, so I make the motion to let you seek bids for the parking lot, tennis court parking lot.
Chris, get done one tonight.
Parking
Oh,
lot.
okay. Is it,
It's your turn.
is the word second? I second it?
I
Yes.
think you know your second.
Okay, I'll second it.
Motion been made and seconded. Any more further discussion? Roll call, please.
Graves,
Yes?
Shelby,
Yes.
Hannah Geeser,
Yes.
Marks,
Yes.
Buffington.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Item number 10, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, everybody.
Oh, wait, what?
This was, I mean, it doesn't really